Hey everyone, Symbiosis here, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be talking about my top favorite Assassin's Creed games and why they've made the top of the list. So I'm just going to be talking about 4 of them because honestly I love all of the Assassin's Creed games, but I think these are the ones that really secured in the top 4 for me. So I'm just going to start off with number 1, and that would be Assassin's Creed 2. Probably expected, but Assassin's Creed 2 is my all-time favorite Assassin's Creed game. I think Assassin's Creed 2 has so much just beauty in it, from the main character to the setting to the storyline. Assassin's Creed 2 was able to captivate me, and it was also my first Assassin's Creed game that I played. Assassin's Creed 2 follows the life of Ezio Auditore from Firenze, or Florence, Italy, and how he went from being just a standard, fairly wealthy young man to becoming part of the Assassins, and eventually in the follow-up titles to number 2, which would be Brotherhood and Revelations, we see how Ezio went from being just a, standard assassin to becoming a very well-trained master assassin, which is amazing how we got to explore his life in 3 different titles. So far, Ezio is the only character that we've ever actually had that amount of gameplay for, and I don't blame it. I don't blame the devs for creating that many games for him. Ezio is amazing. The setting, being able to explore Italy, being able to explore this character's life, the storyline, the enemies, just all around, it was a well done game. The gameplay was so much fun, the combat was fun. We were introduced to the double hidden blade system, which is something we didn't have before, and I felt that that was absolutely amazing, that Assassin's Creed 2 really excelled in so many places and set a standard for future Assassin's Creed games. Parkour, stealth, all of that was just absolutely one of the most fun things about this game. And I feel like of all the Assassin's Creed games that I've played, Assassin's Creed 2 definitely, has a special place in my heart for being the first one I've played and for being one of the best games of all time in general. There's just so much to unpack with that game, and I feel like if, I could replay one video game experience, it would be Assassin's Creed 2, because there was just so much happening in that game. It was emotional, it was full of life, the characters felt like their interactions were real, there was just a lot of exciting stuff. And I feel like the setting was great, the cityscape with, Monteriggioni, which was, more of a kind of a village-like area, having your own kind of home base and being able to expand it to upgrade the health system, the armor system, the customization, it was all great. I really loved it, and I felt like it was just exciting, it was fun. And I couldn't really find anything that I didn't like about it, to be honest, because everything in Assassin's Creed 2 was just great. Obviously, it's an older game, so it doesn't look as nice as some of the newer games do, but for its time, and that game looked advanced for its time. Moving on to number 2, I would say definitely Assassin's Creed 1, and there are so many reasons for this, but maybe some of you were shocked, like, why would you put Assassin's Creed 1 that high up, and I will explain now. Assassin's Creed 1 is one of my favorite games ever, just like Assassin's Creed 2. Actually, honestly, I can say Assassin's Creed is my all-time favorite, but Assassin's Creed 1 it's so much fun. There is so much in Assassin's Creed 1 that I love. Now, obviously, some things here and there, it was a bit repetitive, but being the first title in this series, I honestly excuse the repetition and the lack of difference in missions. Some of the movement was a bit clunky, but I honestly loved the combat, the main character, the settings. I'm just going to break that all down real quick. In terms of protagonists, although Assassin's Creed 2 as a game was my favorite protagonist is Altair. And I really liked his character, how we got to grow with him, how he went from being, very arrogant to still being arrogant, but really awesome at the same time. I love the historical setting of both Assassin's Creed 2 and 1, which is something I forgot to mention for 2, but historical settings are really, really cool with Assassin's Creed, and it's just one of the things that I enjoy having, because I'm a huge fan of history, so Renaissance Italy, the Crusades, that was just like, that sealed the deal for me, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was one of the big reasons why I got into Assassin's Creed was because of the fact that you got to live through history. And Assassin's Creed 1 tackles one of my favorite historical time periods, which is the Crusades, and I really liked kind of seeing the history of the Assassins' Brotherhood in Syria and how they grew and how they started out and the way it became. And by the way, interestingly enough, Assassin's Creed 1 actually talks about a real life assassin group that was based in Masyaf, Syria. So actually, if you go to that area of Syria, I looked it up, you can actually see the fortress where the assassins hid out in. At the time, they were called Hashashin, which, when translated, from Arabic to other languages, eventually became assassin. So that's actually where the word assassin comes from. And so being able to actually live that history through this, fictional game was absolutely amazing. The combat was so much fun. So when you're fighting and you trigger those kind of finishers during combat, it's just so satisfying. The parkour is great. The city, the environment is great. Being able to go to Akka, to Jerusalem, to Masyaf, wherever you want to go in this world, it's so much fun. There's just such a variety of places and of things to do, and I really liked it. I just think that this game is really special, and it has a lot of meaning to it and enjoyment, and a lot of hours that you put into it and you enjoy. Definitely makes number 2 on the list. Number 3. This one's gonna seem a bit maybe controversial, I don't know. But number 3 for me is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Now, before you come at me and say Assassin's Creed Odyssey is not a real Assassin's Creed game, Symbiosis, I just want you to hear me out here. I know it doesn't fit the mold of every other Assassin's Creed game. I 100% acknowledge that. It doesn't feel like the other games. It doesn't feel like the older games. But for me, Assassin's Creed Odyssey felt more like a prologue to the rest of the series. So when you're reading a book, for example, right, you read a series of books, and then you get to a prologue. A prologue basically talks about some events that happened before the main series. It may not feel like the main series. It may not even have the same elements as the main series. But the prologue connects to the main series somehow. And that's what I thought about Assassin's Creed Odyssey, is it felt more like a prologue. Yes, there was a weird, mix of mythology, stuff that didn't really add up. But Assassin's Creed, if you remember from the original games, is about aliens that used a golden apple device thing to create humans. It's all wild in the first place. It's a very wild concept to begin with. So I don't think mythology really exceeds weirdness when it comes to aliens using apples to when you explain that to someone, if someone goes, yo, what's the story behind Assassin's Creed? Oh, well, there were aliens and they came to Earth and they were like, hey, let's make humans using this apple and it's golden. You're probably gonna get some weird looks huh? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, well, mythology doesn't really, in my eyes, qualify as that weird. Now, some people are like, oh, but there's no hidden blade in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Yes, I know. We got a spear, which was fun either way. Listen, Assassin's Creed Odyssey had its own charm. It had its own fun, and honestly, it is one of the most fun games I've ever played. I have put so many hours into Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I do not regret it. It is the one game I will pour financials and time into, because I absolutely love this game. There is so much to do in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I love ancient Greece. I love Greek history. I love, Sparta and Athens and Greek philosophers and all this stuff. This time period, along with literally every other time period in Assassin's Creed in general, is so awesome for me. I love that the main character, you can really shape them the way you want to shape them through the dialogue options. You can shape their character. If there's one complaint I have about the game, it's the XP leveling. It just takes way too long to go from level to level. But it is what it is. I don't really care. At the end of the day, I really like the game. And I really think that there's a lot of, exciting stuff in Assassin's Creed Odyssey that I don't really see in other games. I feel like there's a lot to explore. There are a lot of missions. There's a lot to do. The character interactions are really interesting. And as much as people hate on Alexios' character, I really liked him. I don't know. I went for Alexios when I first picked it. I don't usually care what the character's gender is, I guess. They could be male or female. It's not a big deal to me, what the character is. Sometimes I'll pick the female character if I like, her more, but I liked Alexios' model a bit more than Cassandra's. I just felt it just made more sense to me to play Alexios. And I know some people were like, oh, his voice acting was terrible. I don't know. I was actually kind of able to feel a lot of emotion coming from the character. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I've just been playing it for a while and it grew on me. I'm not sure, but either way, I really like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I don't really think that it deserves all the hate that it got. But that's just me, and I might do another video on more in depth about this later, but for right now, This is what I'm gonna say. Coming in at number 4, which is the last on the list today, Assassin's Creed Unity. Maybe one of you is gonna say, why isn't Unity higher than Odyssey? I'm just gonna explain it. I just had more fun with Odyssey, but I love Unity so much. I love Assassin's Creed Unity. It was so difficult trying to put it at number 3 or number 4, so I'm gonna say Odyssey and Unity are interchangeable. I'll just tie them in at number 3, right? They're tied for number 3 because I can't decide. Assassin's Creed Unity is so good. The parkour is great, the setting, the French Revolution. Let me just say, the French Revolution is my all-time favorite historical time period. There is nothing for me that beats the French Revolution. I know way too many random facts about the French Revolution. I have gone on rabbit holes worth of information and reading and videos on the French Revolution because I just love it so much. I cannot tell you why. I cannot explain the reason I love it. I just do, okay? I know way too much about it. So being able to play in the French Revolution was like, you didn't even need to ask me twice. I was already gonna play that, like, guaranteed. I love this time period. Arno's character is great. I love the way he's designed. I love the way he acts. I love the outfits you can pick for him. He's so cool. I love Arno. He's great. The setting is great. The story is very interesting, very engaging, and it really made me think. It really made me, interact with the world I was living in. The side missions are actually fun. The parkour is smooth and beautiful, and I do not care if it defies the laws of physics. It looks amazing. The combat is so much fun. The capabilities of stealth in this game is phenomenal. Compared to so many other Assassin's Creed games, I feel like Unity had the best potential for stealth, parkour, movement, things like that. This game just won my heart. You know what I'm saying? Like, this game is so good. Literally every Assassin's Creed game is so good. Like, I cannot think of a single Assassin's Creed game I genuinely dislike. Some I don't like more than others. Like, for example, if I had to pick my kind of meh titles, it would be like, maybe, I don't know. I didn't really enjoy Valhalla as much as I enjoyed some of the other titles, so maybe that would be kind of my meh one so far. Like, I feel like some of the other ones were more engaging, and I feel like definitely the 4 that I've listed in this video so far were more exciting for me than Valhalla. I'm not going to get into Valhalla in this video, I'm just saying, like, if I had to pick between, say, Odyssey and Valhalla, I would pick Odyssey. Just, because. And if I had to pick between Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, which I guess those 3 are kind of tied in, they're a bit relevant, I would say Odyssey. I know Origins is a fan favorite, and I love Ancient Egypt. Man, I just love all the historical settings in Assassin's Creed, but Ancient Egypt, I know a lot of random facts about that as well. I can't even tell you why. I was obsessed with Ancient Egypt as a kid. The more I grew up, I became obsessed with the French Revolution, the Crusades, Renaissance Italy. I have a book on the Medici family, because I can. Medieval Europe. Okay, you know what? Completely off track. I'm gonna admit it. I have way too much fun with history, and so that's one of the reasons I love Assassin's Creed so much, is because of how much history is involved in this game. I don't care if it's accurate. It's fun. And that's what matters to me, is it's so much fun. I do not care at all if it's accurate to the time period, if this stuff could happen. Being able to interact with Leonardo da Vinci, like, why would I complain about that? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, anyways, back to Origins versus Odyssey versus Valhalla. Sorry for that tangent, it was very random. But I know Origins is a fan favorite. I love Origins, but I gotta say, I just enjoyed Odyssey more. By a slim margin, I enjoyed Odyssey more, but Origins is so good as well. There's a lot to unpack in these games. They're all really good. And somehow the graphics of Assassin's Creed continue to live up to this day. Like, I can't even tell much of a difference between, like, Odyssey and now, newer games and stuff like that. Like, they're really good. They're really well made. I know some of them don't feel like Assassin's Creed games, but at this point, I'm just enjoying them. That's about it. And I mean, like, in regards to history, another little tangent here before I wrap the video up. I love history so much to the point where I decided to write an entire series where I combined history and psychology and sci-fi and aliens and fantasy and all that into one. So I'm just gonna plug it in right here because it's relevant. It's called the Fallen Age Saga. I'm gonna link book 1 in the description below. Book 1 is called Malware, and it's basically kind of like what kickstarts the whole series out, which it's a sci-fi dark fantasy series, so it covers science fiction, military sci-fi, aliens, some fantasy, there's a bit of a twist along the way. I'm gonna link book 1 in the description below if you're interested. Check it out. It helps me out. And yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in it. I really went all out with aliens and warfare and history and sci-fi and fantasy. Book 1 kind of really introduces all of that. And so when book 2 comes out, obviously I'm going to talk about it. But anyways, I'm going to stop there because I've talked a long time now. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And this was Symbiosis signing off. I'm probably going to go play some Assassin's Creed now.